I've been an operations manager for almost 3 years. Truck came from behind and plowed into me. Was I unsure of what the settlement really was, and the annuity and how it worked? Yes, I was very unsure. I was, maybe the human side of me says, look out for scams, look out for this, look, who can you really trust? That kind of situation. So I was kind of like, okay, what are they going to invest in? Okay, they're going to invest in this, that, and the other thing, and then, oh, sorry, Larry, your money's gone. That's the part I was really scared about. How concrete and how smart are these people that are going to be investing my money? How concrete are the companies they're going to invest in? And so, yeah, that's why I went online and kind of looked at, I think, if I remember correctly, there was like a list of companies that was handed to me that the possible investments would be with. And I think I went online, and I mean, my fear was, okay, is this guy that I have no idea who he is he, in working with his brother that has a company somewhere that he's going to invest in that, and sorry, Larry, it didn't work out. That's the kind of things you think about when you're in the middle of this lawyer case, battling with insurance companies, and how am I going to get screwed in this deal? The one thing that really ensured us that this was a good idea was that these companies were big companies, been around for a long time. The names were known, household names. So I had confidence in it. And not to mention, knowing Alan, I felt really comfortable with him, my lawyer. And then meeting you, Tay, I felt really comfortable with you. I mean, I felt like you were sincere and honest and compassionate enough that I could trust you. That's a good question. I mean, the structured settlement to me was obviously the prize, was obviously the beneficial prize. I mean, it was that's what we were going for. What's the best deal we're going to get? Okay, but in order to take that leap, if you will, that gamble, because that's kind of what it felt like, you have to trust the people that are teaching you. Because at the time, the last thing we wanted to do was research any other investments. I mean, obviously, we didn't come from that type of background. We're not huge investors. We have 401k plans, from our businesses. We didn't want to have to dig in and figure out what is the best investment for our money. So we have these people, our lawyer and yourself, saying, this is what you want to do. Well, is it? I don't know, but it sounded good and it looked good. And when you get that feeling from somebody that you can trust them, it just helps that much more. And it's such a scary time that you're going through. I mean, it just helps, you know what I mean? Because it'd be hard to dive in and just say, okay, here's all my money, I trust that you're going to give it back to me, the way you said you have. It's a pretty big leap, Structured settlement to me was a more concrete investment than other investments at the time. Once again, I didn't have a whole lot of time to, or will, or want to go try to learn how to invest my money in a matter of a couple months, So yeah, I felt like it was a guaranteed return, and that's that was the best thing at the juncture. I mean, if I could go back and change how I structured my annuity, or maybe invest in other things, at this point in my life, I'd say I wouldn't do anything different. I like the options that we had. You gave us plenty of options to look at, different ways of doing it. I can't think of anything, that we would have rather done. I mean, it's perfect the way we have it set up right now. I think the structured settlement works with our retirement planning or financial future in many ways, but I think it kind of depends on the person itself, because if you get a good job, maybe you can use your annuity as a cushion, Maybe the economy gets bad, maybe you might lose your job. But if you lost your job, let's say you were working at a nice place and was making a nice wage, you lose that, it could be much more. It could be your financial future, period. For us, it worked out where I landed a good enough job that was basically a step up from the job I had before. So now we're using it as, I don't want to say just a cushion, but obviously college retirement, college for the kids, retirement for us. But it's just a safety net, I don't know what else to say, a cushion. It's just nice to know that it's there, something to rely on for the future in case I lose my job. Yeah. A structured settlement definitely provides peace of mind. I would say that because I know it's there. It's a given and it's guaranteed, and I planned out when it's coming, so I can plan my future knowing what day it's going to show up. It's if I invest in something today, if I know that my job is running out and I'm not going to have it much longer, college is coming up for my kids. Boy, just unlimited things. But as long as you know it's coming. When I bought my house, I knew how much money I was going to get in these amount of years, so I could plan my budget knowing what I could spend. I mean, it's in every aspect of your life once you know it's there. Could I have done better with my settlement other than the structure? I would have to say, I suppose there's a chance. I could have, but to this day I don't know what it could have been. I could have got lucky, I suppose, and invested in, Apple or, something that came along that just a crapshoot. I have no, to this day I don't know what I could have done better, to make that choice. Yeah. We have never regretted it. Would you have done something different? Well, you often wonder, okay, well, am I going to live past 50? Am I going to, would I rather go take that European vacation, when I was 35, whatever.
Right.
You're always going to question that. But then I do have the comfort, and the peace of mind knowing that, if I did die at 50, my wife's going to be taken care of for a long time. My kids especially, you never know what the future is going to bring, and it gives me great comfort to know that one day they're going to receive a check, just to help her out. Here you go, and I know how incredible that would be to have that kind of help, when they're older. So, yeah. And obviously we're not telling them about it too much. We're not going to fill them in and let them rely on it. But how great. We have not told our kids about our structured settlement. They know that there was a settlement at one time, but as far as they know, they don't know any details about it. I'd like to maybe keep it a secret, until they're old enough to where I think they can understand it. Maybe married, have kids of their own or whatever, and because I don't want them relying on it or counting on it. I just want it to be not a surprise, but I just want them to be, I'd love it to be there to see when they got this check, just saying, did you know your dad had this, here you go, and I just know if I had a lump of money like that just land in my lap, it'd just be incredible, just the relief. Hopefully they don't run into hard times. Hopefully, they'll look at it, maybe they'll give most of it to charity. I can only hope, I think one of the greatest advantages, and there's probably 2 or 3 of them, but one of the greatest advantages of a structured settlement for me immediately was that I could concentrate on finding another position as far as work is concerned, and not having to go back to my old job, which I loved my old job, but it was going to cause me a lot of pain. I mean, I was an electrician, a construction worker, and there's a lot of lifting and pulling and climbing and tugging. And that was one of the biggest advantages, just knowing that I had that there. So if I couldn't land as big a job as I had before, it could pad me through. You know, I could rely on that to get me through. That was one of the biggest advantages.
Okay.
Just knowing that it gave me a chance to go find something else to do. You know, maybe it was selling balloons in the park. You know, I don't know, but obviously I landed something bigger than that, so it was, you know, nicer. But it was the peace of mind knowing that I could go find something else and it was going to be okay. You know, whatever I found, I'm going to have, you know, a supplement somehow to my income, knowing that whatever I make is still going to be covered. I could still have a roof over my head. I could still feed my family. So that's really the peace of mind that it gave me, I think. Another great advantage of a structured settlement to me was also that it was planned investment. I mean, you knew when you're going to get your money and you knew how much it was going to be, you know, when and where and what. I mean, it was, so you knew you can plan your future accordingly. I mean, you know, with an investment, you don't know where it's going to happen. You know, up and down, up and down. You're not quite sure what's going to happen. But with the structured settlement, I knew. I mean, I can plan my future around it. So that was the other big advantage. I guess if I had the opportunity to talk to somebody that was getting ready to, you know, settle their case, get a annuity started, I guess I would suggest to them talking to someone like yourself, someone that understands structured settlements. Talk to somebody that has experience with structured settlements. Maybe, you know, ask your lawyer possibly if you could talk to somebody that he's worked with before, that has gone through it before. You know, just to me, that's how I operate. I like to talk to people that have done it before, or at least have a little bit of knowledge. Helps me make my decision. Like, so I would suggest that they talk to their lawyer. Maybe go on the internet. Everybody has the internet anymore. Read up on it. Just type in annuity, type in structured settlement, and just read about it. Find out what it is, and because it all happened really fast for us. I mean, we kind of heard about it, and we had other bigger issues on our mind at the time, it seemed, you know, so we really didn't dig into it deep. We just kind of trusted Alan, my lawyer, and Tay, you, obviously, to come in and explain it to us. So we felt comfortable enough with those explanations, and like, once again, knowing the companies that you were investing in, and the solid foundation, you know, that was enough. I don't know what else I could tell them except, you know, talk to somebody that's been down that road, you know. And what do you think? I mean, what would you tell somebody, since you're in that business? What would you tell them?
Well, I can't help but smile because I got to ask you this question. I'm hoping you'll rephrase it just the right way. Would you suggest that somebody call Tay Robinson?
I would suggest that calling someone like Tay Robinson. If I was going to talk to somebody about structured settlement, being able to get into it and learn about it, I would have them get a hold of somebody like Tay Robinson and strategic settlements, and learn more about it, you know, and go with your gut. And when you meet the right person, you'll know, and just go with your gut. When you're in that situation, when you're in the middle of a case, there's so many question marks on what's going to happen with your life, period. The last thing you can do is make, you know, hard decisions. And when you get warm, fuzzy, comfortable feelings from strangers that seem compassionate and they care and they want to help you out, it's just a relief. I mean, you know, that's what you're looking for. And when you find that, you just go with it. And that's what we found with Tay Robinson. You know, my wife wrote a good line, and if I could actually memorize it and say it, it's basically what we were just saying. You know, the comfort of having an annuity is nice, but the comfort of meeting somebody that can help you get through it and set one up and you can trust them is impeccable. I mean, that's what you need, is someone that you can trust and get you through it, and that's almost nicer than the annuity itself. This is what my wife wrote regarding structured settlements. The comfort of having an annuity is nice, but nothing compares to the comfort of having someone you trust in charge of it, setting it up in the beginning. Yeah. This is what my wife wrote about structured settlement. The comfort of having an annuity is nice, but nothing compares to the comfort of having someone you trust in charge of setting it up in the beginning. And that means a lot to us. Yeah.